Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Super Uniques. Today we're going to be going over the Act 3 Super Uniques, so before we get into that, let's go over really quickly the special things that Super Uniques have. First off, Super Uniques are unique monsters that always spawn in the same location with the same unique bonuses. Additional unique bonuses are randomly selected in Nightmare, and 2 additional unique bonuses are selected in Hell. Ignores target's defense does not work on Super Uniques, but it will apply to the minions of the Super Unique. Negative target's defense is only half effective versus the Super Unique, but still 100% effective versus the minions. Freeze length turns into chill instead of freeze length, and the minions still can be frozen though. Stun length only has a 10% chance to apply, but other than that, suffers no other penalty. AI altering effects, such as Confuse, hits blinds target, things like that, will not affect Super Uniques, but they can still affect the minions. Life loss to Crushing Blow is halved, so 1/8 for melee and 1/16 for ranged attacks. They do not regenerate, but bosses and Uberage do, and on top of that, the life that they are drained by open wounds is also halved. It's also very important to note that Super Uniques will drop 2 items no matter what, even if it is players 1 or players 8, it doesn't matter. They always drop 2 items. It is one of the defining characteristics of Super Uniques. Super Uniques also have special names. So instead of being just like Random Flame Spider number 5 or a generically generated elite name, you know, like Killer the Third or something like that, or you know, there's a bunch of really weird ones in this game. Some of them are actually kind of very silly. These always have a specific name, and they are usually in a specific place. Now, they're not always in a very specific location in the place that they're in. So it's important to note that while some monsters, or some super unique monsters, will be always in the same area, like for instance, in the previous video we went over Dark Elder, how Dark Elder was always in one of the cities, but not necessarily the same city, because there's 2 different cities in that zone, so his area kind of fluctuated. But he's always in Lost City. He's always in the Lost City, but his position on the map does change. For Sszark the Burning, though, Sszark the Burning is usually located directly next to the chest that has the eyeball in it. Sszark the Burning is a spider, and as you can see, Sszark the Burning is coming to murderize me. Now, let's go ahead and finish off her minions real quick so that we don't have to worry about them, although she will apply a really nasty poison to me, I'll tell you what. Now, Sszark the Burning is one of those monsters that is always extra strong, and she is always cursed, which means you always get amp damage put on you when you fight Sszark the Burning. She does roll with some other modifiers in Hell difficulty, and they can make her immune to specific elements, like right now she's immune to physical, but she is always immune to fire before she is immune to anything else. So the second immunity comes in afterward. As you can see right now, though, she's lightning enchanted and she's stone skinned, but she's not immune to lightning. And this is because she only has 0% lightning resistance, and lightning enchanted does not actually bring her above the 100% barrier to make her immune. Now, even if Sszark the Burning is stone skinned, you can still dish out damage. All you really have to do is apply some kind of damage to her in some form. And once you have some damage running, you can usually dish out a pretty decent amount of damage to her. Now, I'm going to switch over to my Decrepify stick, specifically so I can break that physical immunity and take her down. Now, one thing about spiders that you will find out is that spiders have a tendency to run away when they are injured. And let me see if I can get her down to... no, didn't quite get her down low enough without killing her. Let's see if I can show you on one of these guys. So if you attack a spider a certain number of times past a certain point of HP, they will actually run away, and they will leave a trail behind them. And I'm not really sure if I can show you this, because I'm probably going to end up killing the spider. There we go. See how the spider is running away and putting a slow field in the ground right here. Sszark the Burning will do the same thing if you bring her down to a low level of HP. This is one of the defense mechanics of the spiders, is that they basically have the ability to put that on the ground and run from you. So do be aware that Sszark the Burning can do that to you. It's not common, though, if you absolutely rip her to shreds. So if you kill her quickly enough, you don't generally have to worry about it. But it's not it's not that big of a deal. Now, the next super unique on the list is going to take me a little while to get to, and unfortunately, this is kind of the case for all of the super uniques in Act 3, is that just about all of them are just in some really hard to get areas. They're not really very easy to get to. There are a couple. There's a couple that are easy to get to, but the next one on the list is Witch Doctor Endugu. And Witch Doctor Endugu is, of course, in the Flayer Jungle, in the Flayer Dungeon. And finding Witch Doctor Endugu means running around the frickin' jungle until you happen to find the entrance to that specific part of the area. Now, what you're looking for is these little pillars right here. Once you find these little pillars, you go in, you take a look, and see if you got the right one. If you got the right one, you get, obviously, the Flayer Dungeon. Yay! You've successfully found the first part of finding Witch Doctor Endugu. Witch Doctor Endugu, however, is not on the first level of Flayer Dungeon. No. That would be too easy. Witch Doctor Endugu is actually guarding the chest at the bottom of the Flayer Dungeon. And down here, there are all manner of nasties. And when I say nasties, I mean yes, just very nasty nasties. I'm going to grab some of these potions because I know I'm going to need them. Now, what you're looking for is you're looking for the stairs. You don't necessarily have to fight everything here. You just want to see if you can find the stairs and the way out, because honestly, there's just a lot of nasties down here. When you get to Flayer Dungeon level 2, it's the same thing over again. You're going to be looking for the stairs and the way down. You don't really necessarily need, like I said, to fight everything down here if you don't want to. But most people don't come down here for Witch Doctor Endugu. Now, the very interesting thing is that when you get to level 3, everything changes. The dynamic of this entire place is kind of ridiculous, and it's full of little trap doors and things like this, which, by the way, if you're a barbarian, you can leap over the grates. Just don't overthink it, okay? You can't. All right, just do it, because it'll save you a lot of time. Now, this area is basically built like a maze. There's very few monsters that are actually in this zone, so that's one of the things that you're going to notice is that you're not really going to come across very many monsters in this zone at all. You got to do a whole lot of maze-like stuff to get around here, and quite honestly, if you're going to farm Witch Doctor Endugu, I would really recommend that you bring a teleport staff or something, because it's just a pain in the butt, like, traversing this entire area. Now, once you get to Witch Doctor Endugu's room, it's very obvious because he is, of course, guarding the magical chest which houses the brain. Witch Doctor Endugu is actually 2 creatures. So it's very important that you remember this when it comes to Witch Doctor Endugu, that he's not just 1 monster, he's actually 2 monsters. So when you kill him, the first time you kill him, make sure that you're paying attention because he's not actually dead. He is always fire enchanted, which means he's always fire immune, and he is also always magic resistant, which means he usually ends up being immune to a second element, most likely lightning. I believe it's fire and lightning always because of his resistances. Now, Witch Doctor Endugu, like I said, is actually 2 monsters. So when you kill him the first time, you will end up with the first chieftain version. This is the one that we're looking at right now, the one where he's actually on top of his shoulders, right? So when you kill him, he dies, but then a second Witch Doctor Endugu, which is the one that the guy was on the shoulders of, pops up. So as you can clearly see, now we have a second Witch Doctor Endugu, which has the same stats as the first. When you kill the second one, he drops a second set of items, which means that he can technically drop 2 different items, sets of items, so 4 total for this particular character. You're dropping a Sacred Armor. Now, the first version of Witch Doctor Endugu, the double, is a level 27 monster in normal difficulty. He is level 54 in nightmare difficulty, and he's level 86 in hell difficulty. And it is the same for the second version. So you get a level 86 monster that can drop just about everything shy of TC 87 class items. Both are immune to fire and lightning, and there's really not much you can do about that. Quite honestly, he's just kind of a pain in the butt to get to. There's no real reason to farm this guy, in my opinion. There's just so much nasty stuff down here. But if you come down here to get the brain, or if you're down here for some particular reason, I would recommend that you still kill him anyway. Because getting 2 super unique drops, basically 4 guaranteed drops for free while you're down here for getting the brain, is certainly not a terrible thing. It definitely makes sure you at least kill him while you're down here. I think I forgot to go over Sszark the Burning's levels, but just in case, Sszark the Burning is level 25 in normal, level 53 in nightmare, and 82 in hell. Just in case I did forget. Moving on to the next one, which is actually one of them that is actually surprisingly easy to find. Out of all the super uniques in Act 3, this one is actually pretty easy. Once you gain access to the lower Kurast waypoint, basically what you do is you just travel directly this way, at kind of like westerly, and you're going to look for the entrance to the lower Kurast. And when you find the entrance, Stormtree is always at the entrance to lower Kurast. Stormtree has a pretty hefty number of Thrashers, and do be aware that the Thrashers can dish out some pretty serious damage, depending on what their modifiers are. I've come across many times a Stormtree that was more than capable of smacking my booty around. And it really depends. In this particular case, he looks like he is extra fast and cursed. He does always roll with the extra fast enchantment, and he always rolls with the lightning enchanted enchantment. He is always cold enchanted, or cold immune, but he's not always lightning immune, which is kind of interesting. In this particular case, he is magic resistant, which is giving him an additional 40% lightning resistance, which is tipping the scales in his favor to give him the lightning immunity. But he's not always lightning immune. He is level 26 in normal difficulty, 53 in nightmare difficulty, and level 83 in hell difficulty. As you can see, he is surprisingly easy to get to if you have the lower Kurast waypoint, because all you have to do is just travel south from the lower Kurast waypoint to get to him. It's not really that big of a deal. The next one on the list is also sometimes easy to find, but she's also a little bit of a spicy one. And make sure that you understand this before you go in, because if you go in without being prepared and clenching your butt cheeks, there's a very good chance she can rush you and kill you before you even realize what's going on. And this is Battlemaid Sarina. Battlemaid Sarina is always located in one of the 2 temples in Kurast Bazaar, and I'm going to show you really quickly how you tell the difference between which temple. The temples that are facing this way are always the wrong temples. You don't want this one. You want the temple that's facing the other way. So notice how this temple is facing in this direction. From top right corner to bottom right corner, this is the one that you're looking for. The temples that run from top left corner to bottom left corner, those are not the correct temples. So this is the correct temple, the ruined temple that has Battlemaid Sarina in it. And as you can see here, it is very spicy inside this thing. In fact, it's often very spicy inside this thing. Tons of spiders, tons of various monsters, freaking wailing beasts that are immune to magic, all sorts of crazy stuff. And on top of that, Battlemaid Sarina is always extra fast, which means that more often than not, if you manage to aggro her from the door, which is possible, her entire pack will rush up as fast as humanly possible, which one of the things that I recommend that you do is you block her and keep her from being able to get through the door. Because if you don't block her and keep her from being able to get through the door, you will be surrounded very fast. Now, Battlemaid Sarina guards the book, you know, the quest. You have found the book! She is level 26 in normal difficulty, she is level 56 in nightmare, and she is level 87 in hell difficulty, which means that she is capable of dropping some of the higher difficulty uniques. So she can drop Griffin's Eye Diadem, she can drop things like Tyrael's Might, and so forth and so on, because she is a high enough level super unique monster that she has access to those drops. Now, let's see if I can get some of these guys out of the way. I don't want to kill Battlemaid Sarina, but... Oh, almost killed her. Almost, but not quite. Look, she's cursed. Oh, yay, cursed. She's extra fast always, and she's always spectral hit as well, which means she does some pretty nasty damage if she can hit you. Thankfully, I have 15,000 defense and 75% block chance, so hopefully she won't be hitting me anytime soon. However, if she does manage to surround you, there's a very good chance that, well, she can kick your butt, especially when she rolls Cursed, Might in hand, enchanted, Fanaticism enchanted, things like that. It could go very badly for you. She is always immune to cold, and she doesn't have any other immunity, so that other immunity can roll depending on what other effects she gets. She is rather lightning resistant, so if she does roll lightning enchanted, she will be lightning immune. If she rolls... fire, she will be fire immune, and so forth and so on, because she does have 53% fire and 53% lightning resistance, like base, which is kind of nasty. All in all, though, I actually find these tombs to be very nice places to go and farm, simply because, well, they're very densely packed, and if you can handle it, if you can handle the heat, so to speak, I definitely recommend these places, because there's just tons of elites down here, and also, of course, you get access to the level 87 Battlemaid Sarina, and, if you haven't done your book quest, you can also come down here and do your book quest, too. There's also tons of clickables down here and other things. I will, however, strongly caution you about the spiders. That their poison is absolutely insane and can literally wreck your frickin' face. I have died to the poison down here very many times. Another big caution that I will give you guys when it comes to this particular zone is that the doorway is often booby-trapped. As you could clearly see when I came in, the doorway was completely surrounded. I mean, good luck doing anything down here and not getting absolutely moited, because a lot of the times when you walk in the door, because of how densely packed these areas are, you will often end up getting frickin' ganked. Let's move on to the next one on the list, and the next one on the list is another one that is always in a very static location, although sometimes difficult to find, and that is Icehawk Riftwing. Icehawk Riftwing is located deep inside the sewers, next to the entrance to sewers level 2. So when you're going down to find the heart, or if you happen to be farming, say, the super chests down there, because there is quite a few super chests, and although it's difficult to find sewers level 2, I actually will recommend the super chests down there, because, well, they're level 85 super chests, as opposed to the ones in Lower Kuras. And if you're on single player, they're actually surprisingly easy to farm. You just figure out, obviously, where it is, and then you can take the most optimal route to get to it every single time. Unfortunately, when it comes to actually being online, what you're going to notice is that, well, it's not so easy to find Icehawk Riftwing. You could run around here for quite some time, maybe even teleport around here, and you still might not necessarily find him with any kind of expediency. On top of that, there's also dolls down here, which is a pain in the butt. The dolls can kill you. They're not so difficult to deal with, though, because of all the passageways and canals and things like that. You can very easily teleport yourself on the other side of a canal, bringing yourself to safety from the dolls, which isn't too terrible. However, it's been my experience that farming Icehawk Riftwing is not really the easiest. Also, I'll highly caution you that you can accidentally die to Icehawk Riftwing relatively easily, and this has to do with the fact that, well, he kind of like hugs the ceiling, and you don't always see him. I'm trying to think exactly how to put this, but I've seen many sorceresses just running along, and they don't really pay attention to, I guess, what's on the ceiling. And since Icehawk Riftwing is always on the ceiling when you find him, there is the odd coincidence that can happen sometimes where you just kind of run directly into him. and running directly into him means that all of them will come down and hit you basically at the same time. Much the same way that having like Lord Decease spawn on top of your head would be particularly nasty. Obviously, if all of the bats come down and attack you all at the same time, it can be, you know, particularly nasty. We got all the little dollies here. Let's just go ahead and obliterate those dollies from existence. And you, stop resurrecting them. Which is another big thing down here, is that you could literally kill the dolls and then the Haradrim will just resurrect them. They're like, oh, you killed the dolls? Good for you. Here, have some more dolls, because I hear you like dolls. So here, have a couple more dolls with your dolls. One thing I can tell you about dolls, and I do actually have a video going over how to survive dolls, and that is basically you have to make sure that, number one, you're not killing them ridiculously fast. You want to make sure that you kill them slowly, not like at a exceedingly fast pace. The slower you kill them, the better. So if you are coming down here to farm Icehawk Riftwing or something, I don't know why you would, but and you're trying to fight the dolls down here, my suggestion is kill them slowly, and make sure you're walking as well, because you can actually block the explosion. If you are running, there's a very good chance that you will not block the explosion, and that is, you know, obviously going to result in your death. So number one, kill them slowly. Number two, walk while you kill them. And number three, don't kill them fast. I know I said kill them slowly, but I really need to emphasize that. The faster you kill them, the faster you die. If you kill them slowly, you give yourself time to recover from the explosion. If you kill them fastly, well, you got no time. You're dead. Yep, congratulations. This frickin' Haradrim. And as you can see here, I've pretty much searched the entire sewers already. Much to my chagrin, I have still not found Icehawk Riftwing. Let's take a quick look around the sewer, and let's see if there's any place that I didn't explore. So it looks like up there in the north is the only place that I didn't actually explore. So let's go all the way up there. Okay. Pain in the butt, Icehawk Riftwing. That's his name. Now, Icehawk Riftwing is usually not standing directly next to the lever, so sometimes you can just kind of skirt around him. As you can see, he's up on the ceiling, and he's not actually on the ground. Now, it's important to note that this is not actually his position. His position is actually like down here somewhere, so this is kind of not telling the truth, so to speak, of where he's standing. Now, Icehawk Riftwing always spawns Cold Enchanted, and he always spawns Teleportation, which makes him a little bit of a pain in the butt to actually fight, because he will teleport around and run away from you. And due to the complex nature of the sewers level 1, you know, having like various pathways and like canals and things like this that you can't cross until you find a bridge, sometimes it can be a pain in the butt if he starts teleporting across the bridge and stuff like that. There's also rats down here. You see a rat? Icehawk Riftwing is level 25 in normal difficulty. He is level 55 in nightmare difficulty, and he's actually level 87 in hell difficulty, which means he is high enough to drop the TC 87 items in the game. Now, as soon as you approach him, all of the bats will suddenly come to life, and they will attack once you reach that radius. And as you can clearly see, Icehawk Riftwing comes after you with a passion. Now, one thing that happens a lot with him is that when you damage him to a certain degree, and I'm not sure if I can, he will run away and go back to the ceiling. This is a common tactic for the bats, is that they will just simply stop fighting you at a certain point, and they will just run away, which is kind of annoying too. So not only does he teleport, but he also runs away from you. Now, if you do come out down here to kill Icehawk Riftwing, I highly recommend that you come down here and click on all of the clickables, because this is a level 85 zone down here, sewers level 2, and I would also click on all of the super chests. There are super chests down here, there are clickables, there are all sorts of goodies down here that you could potentially get, and There's baskets, there's other super chests, there's locked ones, so make sure you bring some keys. And then on the other side, there's even more chests. There's usually like one pack of monsters down here. It's usually not that big of a deal, but occasionally there might be dolls down here, so do be aware. And then there's another chest, and there's little clickables all over the place. Just click on everything. I usually ignore these little stick-in watchers. They're not even really that big of a deal anyway. But moving on to the next super unique. The next set of super uniques is actually all in the same place, and it's one of the most infamous ones for Act 3. So if you go to Travancore, you have to kill the council to bypass this anyway, so it's kind of part of the quest. But some of these are not actually required. It depends on which ones they are. Now, there's actually a few of them here. There's Ismail Vilehand. Ismail Vilehand, I always think it's funny because Ismail Vilehand is the only one that has like the poo-covered hand. Because when you read their names, it's Geleb Flamefinger, right? So he has the power of flame on his finger. And then it's what is it? Toorc Icefist, so he has the power of ice in his fist, right? But Ismail Vilehand, his hand is just vile. He just has a vile hand. Like, he like shoved his hand up like a rhinoceros anus or something, and so now he's just got the poo hand, and he touches you with the poo hand, and you get like the poo disease. And I always think it's funny to think about it that way. So Ismail Vilehand is always cursed, and he's always extra fast. Geleb Flamefinger is always fire enchanted, and he is always extra strong. Toorc Icefist is always cold enchanted and always stone skin. Now, Ismail Vilehand is level 28 in normal difficulty, 57 in nightmare difficulty, and 85 in hell, and all of the rest of them are the same levels as well. So they will all be 28, 57, and 85. Now, Ismail Vilehand is always fire immune. Geleb Flamefinger is fire immune and lightning immune, and Toorc Icefist is fire immune and cold immune, which makes for a pretty nasty trio of immunities, which means that no matter what element you're rocking, whether you're rocking fire, cold, or lightning, there's always going to be an immunity here for you. Now, another thing that's very important when it comes to these particular minions is that because they are part of a subset of monsters known as the Council have the ability to heal each other. If you let them, they will basically just spam heals on themselves. There are also monsters around the field of battle known as the Priests, and let me see if I can find one of the Priests. Usually they're sitting around here somewhere. Here we go. So we got the Hierophant Priests. The Hierophant Priests can actually heal other monsters. So if I were to go over here and attack, say, for instance, this guy, you'll notice that he will heal that Zealot back to full health. This is something that the Hierophants are capable of, is spamming heals on other monsters. And if you're not careful, if there's enough Hierophants nearby, if they're close enough, they will also heal the Council. So not only does the Council heal the other Council members, but the Hierophants will also heal the Council. Now, every one of the Council members loves to spam Hydras. It's just something that they do. And to show you that the Council members will heal each other, let me go ahead and spam a little bit of damage on this guy real quick. And see if I can get them to heal him real quick. Doesn't always happen, but usually they'll end up healing each other relatively quickly. Let's go ahead and get Ismail Vilehand down a little bit and see if they spam heals on him. Of course, they don't want to do it for me. For me, they said, no, we're not doing it for you. Oh, there you go. See? Now he's back up to almost full again relatively quickly because they will spam heals on him. Now, killing the Council, because they're all demons, is actually pretty easy for a Fist of the Heavens Paladin. I can actually just spam a couple FOHs and kill most of these guys relatively quickly. Each one of the Council members comes with their own minions, so it's important to note that as you're trying to kill the Council, you are going to have to deal with not only all three of the Council members, but all of the Council members' minions as well. My advice is that if you're having trouble with the Council for whatever reason, just take out the minions first. The minions are the ones that are healing the bosses, and then once you have all the minions down, you can pretty reliably just kill the rest of the Council. When it comes to mercenaries surviving these guys, I highly recommend that you have some fire resistance and fire absorption, and maybe even increased maximum fire resistance on your mercenary. As you can clearly see, just tons and tons of hydras being spawned all the time, dishing out massive amounts of damage. Once you kill the entire council, you get a pretty hefty amount of loot. As I talked about previously, with super uniques always dropping 2 items, you generally are going to get 2 items from each one of the super uniques, and then also you get a pretty decent number of items from the non-super uniques too, as well as a pretty hefty amount of gold as well. In fact, these are actually pretty good to farm for gold. Also, the items that they drop can often be worth lots of gold too, like the totemic mask here, this war belt, this horned helm, the antlers here, and so forth and so on. That diamond bow is probably worth quite a bit. The stalagmite staff, the flying axe, that's a pretty good value as well, and maybe even the amulet. All in all, that's a lot of gold sitting on the ground right there for the council. The council is a really good place to farm magic find if you can handle it, if you can bypass all the resistances, and if you can do it safely. It's a very good place for magic finding. There's a lot of good items that can drop here, including a decent amount of runes as well. These guys can drop some pretty good runes also. Next on the list for super uniques in Act 3 is actually the ones that are in the Mephisto's area. So in Mephisto's area, there are 3 more council members, and to get to those, you have to actually go all the way down to the Endurance of Hate level 3, which isn't too difficult to find most of the time, but there are sometimes, I swear, you come down here and this place is just a maze. It's so random and few and far between, but many times you'll come down here and literally like the entrance will be right next to the waypoint. And then other times when you come down here, you could literally run around for hours trying to find level 3. And it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. If you don't have teleport, I personally don't really like to do Mephisto in Hell difficulty. And there's a couple really good reasons for that. Number 1, if you don't have teleport, he's kind of difficult to find. Number 2, if you don't have teleport, you're going to have to fight some of the monsters on the way. And one of the types of monsters that appears down here in Endurance of Hate level 2 is the really nasty dolls that explode. Yes, lots of dolls that explode, and they can potentially murderize you pretty quickly. In fact, if they roll with extra fast, it's been my experience that most of the time you can't even friggin' outrun them. They will just chase you down like a dog. It's like a horrible, nasty dog. And I'm going to make you guys suffer through me finding this real quick, because I feel like this is important when it comes to talking about these particular super unique monsters. Now, the thing about these particular super unique monsters, though, is that they are always with Mephisto. So if you're going to farm Mephisto, you should probably farm these guys too, if you can handle it. The fact of the matter is just like the Travancore Council, the council members that are, of course I found level 1, the council members that are down there with Mephisto are often just as nasty, if not even more nasty, than the council above. In fact, a lot of the times I end up with frickin' like Wyand Voidbringer has Conviction Aura and other nasty things like that. It can be a little spicy. I have had some very spicy Mephisto councils down there, and we're going to talk about that though, and the monster types that you have in that particular area. This Endurance of Hate, and the only reason I'm showing you guys this is because I want you guys to see. I just want you guys to see how ridiculous Endurance of Hate is. So if you ever think about farming these specific monsters, you're like, hey, I can just farm these guys real quick. It'll be no big deal. You know, like, oh man, that's no big deal at all. Those guys are great. I should totally farm those. I want you guys to see that it's not. It's not. Okay, it's not. All right. Of course, I'm all the way back at the waypoint now. Still haven't found it. Let's see. What have I missed running through this horrible plague of a zone? The only thing I can say for a positive on this is that I didn't end up with dolls this time. So it looks like you don't always end up with dolls. You don't always end up with dolls. Isn't that nice? It's so nice. Yeah. It's like eating poo. This area is like eating poo. Now there are some little things that will kind of tell you where the entrance is, and for sometimes I feel like they work. Okay, I know the general roundabout of like which direction the waypoint is facing in is apparently which way that the level 3 is supposed to be, but I swear there are ones like this that you will get where it's just like, why is the map this big? And why is it so far away? I mean, this is like the frickin' football map. And finally we find it like way up here at the north end. So when you come down here, what you're going to find is usually there's a stupid Bloodlord pack over here, which I like to murder. But when you walk through here, you're going to find them in a couple different locations. Sometimes they're over here. We have Bremm Sparkfist is the first one that you find. And Bremm Sparkfist usually has a pretty hefty number of council members with him, which, like I said before, will heal. Not only do the council members heal other council members, they also can heal Mephisto. So keep this in mind in the future. Now, Bremm Sparkfist is the first one of the list, and Bremm Sparkfist is always lightning enchanted, thus the Sparkfist, and he is always aura enchanted. Remember I said he's often conviction? Well, he's always aura enchanted, and then there's only a couple auras that he can potentially roll. It's like Holy Freeze, Blessed Aim, Might, Fanaticism, and Conviction, right? There's not really a whole lot of auras on the list. He can also be, I think, Holy Shock and Holy Fire. So the chances of him being a Conviction or Fanaticism pack is actually pretty nasty. Bremm Sparkfist is level 28 in normal difficulty, level 58 in Nightmare, and level 86 in Hell difficulty. And he is, of course, always immune to lightning. Next on the list, I believe on the right side, I think it's Wyand Voidbringer. Yes. Wyand Voidbringer is always extra strong, and he is always extra fast. So if you're a weaker non-melee character, you might want to avoid Wyand Voidbringer. The benefit of him, though, is that he doesn't have any minions. So he is usually by himself, although sometimes he does have a bunch of vampires around him. But that's usually the gist of it. Now, Wyand Voidbringer is also level 28, level 58 in Nightmare, and level 86 in Hell difficulty. And he is always immune to lightning. As you can see here, he's got Holy Freeze this particular time, which means he rolled with the additional Aura Enchanted effect. On the left side of the map is another one known as, let's see here. Well, actually, I may have given you guys the wrong stats for Wyand. Wyand is Mana Burn and Teleportation. Mana Burn and Teleportation, always. Not extra fast. Not extra fast and extra strong. Maffer Dragonhand is extra fast, extra strong, and Maffer Dragonhand is on the left side. So if you're a squishier character, you might want to avoid Maffer Dragonhand on the left side because he's like a crackhead, as you can clearly see. Maffer Dragonhand is the one that's always immune to lightning. Wyand Voidbringer is also always immune to lightning, though, so same thing. He's also the same level as Wyand Voidbringer. Wyand Voidbringer is level 28 in normal, level 58 in Nightmare, and 86 in Hell. And he's actually a pretty easy one to kill if you are a melee character. If you're not a melee character, the extra fast, extra strong might give you a little bit of a pause. One thing I always recommend, though, is if you come down here and you farm these super uniques, always click on this armor stand. Always click on this armor stand. Always click on this armor stand. This armor stand can drop Talrasha's Guardianship, the frickin' ridiculous set plate that everybody wants, especially early on in the ladder. In Hell difficulty, this armor stand, for some reason, has a very common drop of that particular armor, and I don't know why. I've actually seen this armor stand drop Talrasha's Guardianship many times personally, and granted, it's not always going to happen, but it happens often enough that honestly, if you don't do it, you're kind of silly. If you come down here and you farm Mephisto, There are all these super uniques here that you can farm, obviously. On top of this, there are also super chests in the back. There's a super chest that's always right here. And there is also a super chest that sometimes randomly spawns around here somewhere. It depends. It's kind of the second super chest is not always there. And on top of that, we've got another chest. We've got baskets. We got all sorts of crazy stuff down here. Weapon racks. The weapon racks are good for bases. The armor rack over here on this side is good for Talrash's guardianship. And then, of course, with all the super uniques and various things down here, getting to Durance of Hate level 3 is worth it if you can do it reliably. If it takes you a really long time to get down here, though, it's probably not going to be worth it. Usually you want a sorceress to teleport it, especially when it's on Terrorized. Terrorized Mephisto. It's actually not bad. You get a lot of super uniques real fast, and you get to kill Mephisto and open up all the chests and everything, and yay. I think that pretty much covers it for the super uniques of Act 3. As you can see, not all the super uniques in Act 3 are easy to get to. Sszark the Burning, Witch Doctor Endugu, Battlemaid Sarina, Icehawk Riftwing. Pretty not fun to get to. Stormtree is actually one of the only ones that's particularly easy to get to, as well as Ismail Vilehand, Geleb Flamefinger, and Toorc Icefist, which are part of the council. However, Wyand Voidbringer, Maffer Dragonhand, Bremm Sparkfist, those are not really as easy to get to. Unless you're down here farming Mephisto, you're probably not going to touch him. And even if you are down here farming Mephisto, a lot of the times, you might not be strong enough to actually kill them. People use the moat trick on Mephisto, which is basically where you drag Mephisto to this little moat right here, and it allows you to have him sit right here on the stairs while you spam attacks at him when he's out of reach and can't attack you back. And this is a easy way to kill Mephisto without actually being able to kill Mephisto. Like, if you actually fought him, you'd get your butt kicked, right? Well, it's kind of like the catch-22, right? So if you're moat tricking Mephisto, you probably can't handle the rest of the council anyway. But even if you are moat tricking Mephisto, still click on the stupid armor rack, guys. Click on the armor. Just click on it. If you're a sorceress, telekinesis it, okay? When you find your Tal's guardianship, you can come say thank you. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about super uniques. And the next episode is going to be going over the Act 4 super uniques. So join me next time on Act 4 super uniques.